Awesome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another one-on-one session of the Treehouse. We have a special guest today, Colleen Cosplay. Colleen, everybody's already wondering, what are you cosplaying as? What are you dressed up as right now?
I'm Starfire from DC Comics. This is a bit more of a casual look for her.
I like it. I like the NASA touch to it.
Yes, thank you.
So how would you, Colleen, how would you describe yourself to somebody who just met you on the street? They have no idea who you are. How would you, what would you say?
So if I'm describing like Colleen Cosplay, like my entity as a cosplayer, I am a disabled cosplay YouTuber. So I run the Colleen Cosplay YouTube channel where I make tutorials and I do con vlogs and I talk about my experiences in the cosplay community. I love making cosplay. I love going to cons, all that good stuff.
That sounds very cool. Yeah, I did check out your YouTube channel. I think it's just Colleen Cosplay, right? Yeah, subscriber. I think everybody should go over there, head out, support. But it's one of those things where I was curious when I came across, because I was looking at cosplayers just randomly, trying to get more into it. I do comics, a bunch of other things, but it's a community that I was trying to, get more involved with, and then I saw you. I'm like, all right, let's have her on. So how did cosplay what was your first what drew you to cosplaying? You know what I'm saying? How long ago was that?
So I first started cosplaying around like 2015 or so. My dad took me to a con. I didn't know what cosplay was, but like the moment I saw it, I was like, that's like really, really cool. But I didn't like take it super seriously. I was one of those people that like you dress up for Halloween, like maybe you go to like one con. But I wasn't very serious about it until I reached a point in my life where my chronic illness got to a point that I could no longer do like basically any other hobby. I was really into athletics for a time. Like I was big into martial arts and horse training. And that was like my life.
Yes.
But then I reached a point where like that wasn't possible. So I really had a moment where I sat down and I was like, what can I still do? Like, what is there still that I like can physically do? And I came up with cosplay, which is something that like I had not really taken seriously before. It's not something I cared too much about, but I was like, well, that's what I got. So I did it and I like really went hard on it. We're talking like sewing 20 hours a week of costumes. Like it was ridiculous. And I was like, why not like start my own cosplay YouTube channel? Like we're at that point where I was like, I'm going to start a cosplay YouTube channel. And it just kind of took off from there.
No, that's exactly right. One of the things that really intrigued me about your story, and I think you have a story about your disability, and you mentioned all of this in more in depth. So definitely go check that out, guys. But it was somewhere where you had said that you went through a bunch of doctors, and then they couldn't really figure out what was wrong with you, right? Or they couldn't really figure out, but you knew something was up, and it was something that it's something that I think people don't realize or even think about until it kind of happens to them. And I've experienced this myself, and I'm not definitely don't really share it out, for many reasons. But it's one of those things where the doctors can't, they can only do so much, right? And I think people don't really realize that when you're kids, you can just go to the doctor, they'll give you medicine, you feel better. But that's not how it works, when you get older, when you grow up, and when there are some things that cannot be fixable. And your thing actually, it was something that the way you were describing it, it was okay. What was the exact term that you have?
Yeah, so I can explain it. And this is all like public on YouTube. I'm perfectly fine like sharing my disability story and using that to educate. Disabled people don't feel like you have to do that. This is just like a Colleen thing.
Right.
But yeah, so I have a cartilage disorder. So what cartilage does is it protects your bones. It's in your joints and it's really good at absorbing shock. So if you're like running or jumping, it will really help absorb that shock so you're not feeling a lot of it. It will also protect your bones from rubbing into each other, which is rather painful. So my cartilage does a very bad job of that. It's detaching from my bone and deteriorating. if you want like the fancy science name that I gave in that video, it was diagnosed as an osteochondral defect and patellofemoral chondrosis. But it's kind of progressed since then to like be in a lot of my different joints. And the doctors are like, well, we can like see with our eyeballs that there's a problem with your cartilage, but we just can't do anything. So you go do you and don't come back.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, okay, so that's cool. So that happened, and then now, but it's important, I think, for people to push forward, knowing that we all deal with something like this at some point or another, and it's one of those things where you still have to kind of pick up, and that's why I find you to be inspirational, and I think that's the story that I want people to kind of see from you, is that you can take whatever you're doing before and kind of start over, and kind of so you're doing horseback riding and karate and martial art. I think you even ran track a lot, and then you can start over and do cosplay, or you can find other activities to kind of grow at, and go back to the basics. And it's something that I've done recently. I just started comics. It was one of those things where I was kind of unhappy, or couldn't do the things I was doing before. And then what I want to do now, well, I made a switch, entirely switching my direction over the course of what I kind of want to do now. And I entered, comic creating. I entered writing a lot more, where it's stuff I've always wanted to do, but never really had, I guess, the chance or opportunity to do. So then, it's weird, and nobody really knows, what's kind of going to happen next. I think that's why. That's why I think it's important people hear these stories, and because people don't think about these things. And then, that's why I definitely prioritize, whatever, make sure you do kind of, if you have a priority of things you want to do, just make sure you're making room for everything and how you spend your time. And so that was like a little aside that I had there, a little rant. But I definitely want to talk about your cosplaying journey, because so now it's been a few years. What is your favorite cosplay that you've done?
I feel like I just always say like Supergirl for a lot of these answers, but it's probably still. I feel like I always say Supergirl in like every interview for like the last 3 years, but I also feel like it's still true. She's kind of my most iconic cosplay. I've done a lot of stuff as I have, I think, 7 Supergirl cosplays now, or something ridiculous.
I'm curious. So Supergirl, that's awesome. But are you a fan of, like, do you read the comics? Do you watch the TV shows and the movies and animate stuff? Like, what gets you into a character? You know what I'm saying? Like, what draws you to the character?
A lot of times it's just like what I'm like into at the moment. I had like a huge DC Comics phase. Like I started with the cartoons, and then I got into the comics around like the New 52 era is when I started digging into them. I got a whole bunch of comics. I really started reading that. And other than that, it's just like if I like how the character looks, a lot of it comes down to like aesthetics. Is this something I could actually sew? Like, is it reasonable to make? So definitely big into the comics. I haven't read any of the new stuff lately, but I was like really deep into the New 52 when I just started getting into it.
Have you heard of indie comics? there's a whole renaissance happening in comics now, particularly in the indie crowdfunding space, so like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and some of these, and we're this industry is kind of raising, but some of them are already beating or gaining popularity more so than even the mainstream DC and Marvel titles are. And of course, that's only in the comic book. Not there's no like big property license deals with Hollywood, but it's somewhere that definitely is exciting. And I see more people actually cosplaying as these indie comic characters. And I was I'm just curious if you've ever if you read like stuff like like from Image or Boom, or like stuff not DC and Marvel, or have you ever cosplayed anything other than stuff that are from?
I'm gonna have to think. I've definitely like read some stuff from them, but I'm trying to think if I've ever cosplayed, and I don't think I have. I don't know. Part of running a cosplay YouTube channel is I definitely feel pressure to have to cosplay stuff that like a lot of people know, and like everybody knows Supergirl. I mean, like, don't try and get too caught up in the numbers, but also like, I mean, you do YouTube, you get what it's like when you spend like 12 hours on a video, and it's just like, who is this? So I've definitely read some of the stuff. I always read like the free comic book issues that all of those people put out too,
Mm.
on the free comic book day. So yeah, maybe in the future though, like I've definitely like read those things and been like, I could cosplay that, and I'm like, but no one would get it, like no one would
Totally.
understand. But it sounds like maybe people might understand.
Yeah, well, you would find a niche, and the niche would be super fan. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
they would be super excited. And even though they're smaller, they're like more, they're stronger. You know what I'm saying? They're
Yeah.
stronger community. But yeah, it's definitely something to think about. And I'm always thinking about how to involve, cosplayers, and how to go past like, just the comic book. So
Mhm.
including cosplayers, including music and animation and all these things. It's always rolling around my mind how to do more than just the comic book. And one of them is cosplaying. That's why I'm making new cosplay friends. And also I've started doing cons. What has your experience been like at cons? Good, bad? Do you I know maybe for the last year there haven't been any, but have you
Mhm.
been there previously, and are you excited for them to kick off again?
Yeah, I mean, every con's different. I've had like a very wide range of experiences. I love conventions. I love seeing people, seeing my friends. The cosplay community has been really fantastic to me. I love doing cosplay contests just to like be backstage and like talk about cosplay, see
Mhm.
people who understand. I mean, there's definitely a not great part of going to conventions as a disabled person where like it's not accessible and they might
Mhm.
not even allow you to compete because they won't have a wheelchair ramp. And I've had people just tell me like, sorry, you can't play with us.
Mhm.
So like
Mhm.
that part really really sucks, but there's also like a really really amazing part of getting to like connect with other cosplayers and getting to share this hobby. So like I mean all the highs and lows, everything in between. I've probably seen pretty much all of it at cons.
And you're still excited to go back for more. So that's
Yeah.
telling you something, that there's something, there's something about the
Yes.
convention
Yes.
scene, the community, and the atmosphere, the environment. And I myself, just started. I think I went to like one or two, but I'm definitely going to more. And it's one of those things where I'm excited to kind of go back. Is
Mhm.
there is there any tips you can give to somebody who's starting out in cosplay? Any new cosplayers, or maybe they're on the fence, maybe like me, like I'm trying to get into it. Any tips about starting your first cosplay and putting it
um,
all together?
yeah, I just say like it's really easy to get overwhelmed, and I know at least when I was starting in cosplay, it's really easy to see like the professional cosplayers or the big cosplayers and be like, I will never be that good. I'm never gonna even try because I'll never be that good. And honestly, I'd say just do something. Like even the costume I'm wearing now, like this is all pretty much thrifted. Besides like the bracers, like I didn't even have to make much here, and I have a costume that's wearable and like can be shown on the internet with no shame. So like just make something, and like thrift stores, go to your closet, like whatever. Like, look, we all start somewhere, okay? And for me, it was incredibly cringy, but I did start, and now I'm here. So just get started and try not to get intimidated by the big guys. And if anyone's trying to like gatekeep you, they're wrong. That's actually trash. So
Nobody's trying to gatekeep you. Go to Colleen and she'll set them
yeah,
straight. You know what I'm
I
saying?
would roll over their toes.
But you do have a big following, I imagine, on social medias and on YouTube. Is that correct? Would you consider yourself?
I mean, I'd consider myself very, very small, but when I like had 100 subscribers on YouTube, I would have considered myself to like have made it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all very relative. I still consider myself very small. I just broke 2K on YouTube, which I guess everyone can like relatively decide if that's a lot or not.
Yes, yes, but I mean, it is because the way I see it is that if you have two, you need true fans, right? So if you have, you only need like 100 true fans or something, right? But then that's already a lot of people. But the more you have, more than that, it exponentially grows. And I think 2,000 is good. I think you have a great following. I think people like you, Colleen. You know what I'm saying? And I can definitely see why. So yeah, so what are you working on next? Are you working on more cosplays next? And is there any like big cosplay that you want to kind of do, or that you're working towards?
um, you know, It's been kind of a weird year for me. I felt like I started the year with like all these plans.
Mhm.
And then I got in a car crash on the way to SoccerCon, and I was just like, never mind, I have no plans. I could do anything. I could do nothing. It could be anything, because that really just like, threw out all my plans. I didn't cosplay at SoccerCon, so now I'm just taking those cosplays to cons later in the year.
Mhm.
So I'm not really sure yet. I'm not sure if I want to get back into the competition scene and make something like really big and outstanding, or if I just want to like mess around with like easy costumes like this for the rest of the year for YouTube. Like, I don't know. I guess you'll have to follow me and see what happens, because I could not tell you what I'm going to do next.
That's exciting. That's one of the things where you can put the pressure off yourself and then start over, and then yeah, and then just go with it. Go with as make sure you have that what's it called, movability. You know what I'm saying? You have the opportunity to kind of do whatever you want. So yeah, I like that. It's in a weird way where in my comics I've kind of already set like a pattern of like I'm releasing a new comic every month, and it's one of those things where now I've kind of I have this entire year planned out in front of me, but it's like, oh man, what if I want to work on something new or something different or something else?
Mhm.
So it's definitely one of those things where now there's pressure, there's stress, but then it's also gives me an opportunity to kind of learn as to how I
Mhm.
want to kind of go forward with things. So yeah, I think you're on to definitely something, Colleen, and we're always excited to see what you do next. Thanks for hanging out in the treehouse. I think this is
Mhm.
people are gonna. I think people are gonna like you. I think people are gonna. We're gonna try to get you some more subscribers, some more fans. I'll put your social medias down below. But where can people find you, Colleen?
I'm Colleen Cosplay on YouTube and Colleen_cosplay on Instagram, and that's pretty much it.
Amazing. Thank you, Colleen, for hanging out in the treehouse. Thanks, guys, for watching.
Thank you.